Department of Public Works and Safety. Roll call.
Mr. Dostotny?
Here.
Ms. Gray? Mr. Margraf?
Here.
Are there any conflict of interest statements? We do have one here.
That's just for the board's records, Mr. President.
Okay, so do we need to approve it or anything, or just?
I would just acknowledge for the department records.
Okay. Next is approval of the minutes of the January 7th meeting. You want to recommend?
I recommend that we defer
Or-
the approval
Yeah,
of
they're
the
not.
January 7th
there.
minutes.
Oh, they are here,
Oh, they are.
but nobody's had a chance to look at them. Have you?
No.
So if you want to recommend to defer, then I'll
I
concur.
recommend that we defer the approval of January 7th minutes.
And I'll concur. Next, we have a request for advertising dates of January 21st and January 28th, with a proposed opening date of February 11th for the contractual police order towing and storage services for 2016 and 2017.
I recommend we approve the request.
And I'll concur. Next, we have correspondence from AT&T requesting permission to perform work on River Drive from Calumet Avenue to Tapper Avenue. This is some underground work that they're going to be doing out there. So,
I recommend we approve AT&T's request.
and I'll concur. Next, we have correspondence from Fire Chief Jeff Smith acknowledging the retirement of Assistant Chief Scott Rakos and requesting to be placed on the pension rolls effective December 30th, 2015, and recommending the following promotions to be effective January 1st. Battalion Chief Jack Callahan to the rank of Assistant Chief, Engineer Christopher Walsh to the rank of Battalion Chief, and Private Dennis Bannock to the rank of Engineer, submitted for approval.
I recommend we accept the fire chief's recommendation.
And I'll concur. Next, we have correspondence from Director of Public Works, Director Gary Gleason, recommending the speed limit on Bering Parkway from 171st to 175th be changed to 15 miles an hour for a 90-day trial period. Huh? Yeah. So we need to approve the 90-day trial period.
I recommend that we approve Gary Gleason's request of the speed limit change
For 90 days.
for
And-
90 days.
And I'll concur. At the end of 90 days, if it's satisfactory, then it gets sent to the city council to be made part of the ordinance. Item E, emergency demolition hearing on property located at 6730 to 32 Kennedy Avenue.
All right, good morning. I'm not sure who all's here on this. Okay. I would just ask if we open the bids first.
You want to do that?
Yeah, could we just open the bids first? That way we'll have some idea what we're talking about in real numbers.
You know, what number was that? That was,
You got 3 envelopes.
oh, E, emergency demolition hearing, but where's the bid opening?
Right there.
Okay. We have 3 bids. The first bid is from Gary Material Supply LLC. And their price for the demolition of 6730 Kennedy, as per the Hammond specs, is $28,000. The next bid is from Acting Contracting LLC. And their proposal is $49,420. The final proposal is from JM Industrial Services Incorporated. and their bid is $24,300. Do we have a motion to refer these to the building department for review and recommendation?
I recommend that we send these bids to engineering for
Review
their
and
review,
recommendation.
review and recommendation back to the board.
All right, now, Mr. President, I'm not sure how you want to handle this. We do have some other attorneys here. One sitting in a chair. I can tell the chair. Are you sure? Okay. We do have the attorney first for the property owner, and then we do have the attorney for the tenant. So I'd like to let the attorney for the property owner speak first before I start putting the engineers on.
Okay. Could you state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is John Massini, M-A-S-I-N-I.
And you're representing who?
I'm representing Martin Vesole, V-E-S-O-L-E, who's the owner of the property at 6730 Kennedy Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
We did receive the notice. As everyone is aware, there was a bad storm on December 28th, and the roof collapsed on the single-story portion of the warehouse. At that time, we were told about the proximity of the warehouse to the restaurant. And that was our primary concern. And so we contacted a bunch of different contractors. We first got the perimeter fencing set up with the assistance of the city, so that, you know, to protect the public. And we contacted six separate contractors to see if they would go in and temporarily brace the south wall, which is facing the restaurant. And all six declined, just given the unstable condition of the wall. That was our primary concern. Since that time, we did have a structural engineer conduct a inspection, and he prepared a report, which I believe the city attorney has. It's engineering inspection report prepared by Globex Corporation. And in that report, they identify, in addition to what they believe was a contributing cause of the collapse, to be some roofing work that was done a couple years ago. But they also indicate that the two-story portion of the warehouse, at which the roof did not collapse, was salvageable. And I think all the parties are in agreement that the single-story space where the roof collapse occurred needs to be completely demolished. And from what I understand from speaking with the city attorney, needs to be demolished as soon as possible.
So were these proposals just for the wooden truss section of the building, the older part? So then we are considering leaving the rest of it up?
For the time being.
Okay.
And at some future point in time, it may become necessary should that building deteriorate, but at this time, the immediate emergency is the building that is the lower front building, which could fall into the Mexican restaurant, which is right next.
Okay.
And we're in discussions with the tenant of the building and its attorney. There's the sole tenant, but they are storing very expensive documents owned by U.S. Steel. So we've been in touch with U.S. Steel as well, and are trying to work something out regarding, you know, how to get those documents out of there. And we would like to, once a contractor, a demolition contractor selected, allow them to coordinate with the contractors so that during the course of the demolition or immediately following, they can take steps necessary to remove their property and their documents. It's a bunch of metal cabinets that are storing a bunch of
Photos of it.
Yeah, the documents, which are, I'm told, worth in excess of $1 million. So, but their primary concern is just working with the demolition contractor to get that stuff out of there. And then the ultimate plan that we're considering, at least, is to keep the two-story portion, move the drawings and documents into that portion. Obviously, we would be submitting a proposed repair plan to the city for review and approval before any work would be done on the two-story section. So that's kind of summarizes where we're at.
So how quickly do we need to move on this? Looking at that building is pretty scary. Do we need to make an award like today to one of the demolition contractors?
Well, Mr. President, this is an emergency, and I have prepared an order, and I do have our engineer here to testify. Of course, the city is going to be responsible for the cost of this demolition, which we will, of course, lien the property. But we're not spending more than the $24,300 or whatever the lowest bid is. So obviously, if there's any special consideration that needs to be taken, it needs to be taken by parties outside of the city. The city's interest is only the public safety and the safety of the occupied restaurant, which is immediately adjacent to this property. If there's a collapse and something happens, we're not responsible for the contents of the property. I would like the property to come down soon because we're expecting heavy rains in the next couple of days, and the rest of this building could come down. But that's more of an engineering issue. And I do have the engineer who has reviewed 2 engineers' reports and inspected the property himself.
I talked to Jay Murphy, Acton Bolt, and they seem to be ready to go right.
And they were both the lower bidders?
Jay was the lowest, Acton was actually the highest. I'm sorry, I talked to Gary Materials.
Gary Materials is second.
Both of those are aware of the situation. I explained to them the tenant contents, and anything that needs to be done, then we would talk to them, the tenants, and what we went in, demolition to start Friday.
Well, let's hear from the tenant.
Sure. Shoot one chair? Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Chris Heaney, and I represent the tenant of the building, the sole tenant, Document Control Group. And Mr. Whitman, the owner, is with me today from Pittsburgh. The reason that he's here, and also 2 representatives from U.S. Steel, is the contents. They are invaluable. They are the drawings, the blueprints of almost everything U.S. Steel owns across the world. There are no others. If they lose these, they've lost millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of information. We understand that protecting the public is a primary concern for the city, and it should be, and that this has to be demolished as quickly as possible. We understand that. But we would ask the city of Hammond call upon its successful contractor to work with us to demo the property quickly, to shore it up as quickly as possible, but also, if possible, do it in a way that allows us to remove the contents while it is going on.
Sir, can one of the individuals from U.S. Steel come up to the podium and explain the cabinet to me? I'm kind of familiar with these. I used to move them back when I was 19 and 20 years old, so I'm very familiar with these things.
Yes, and Mr. Whitman can talk specifically about the cabinets. U.S. Steel will talk about the contents.
That's fine. Well, I understand the content part, just the construction of the cabinets.
Oh, okay. Well, from U.S. Steel, I'll go ahead and get on the
Okay.
record. My name's Matt Story, S-T-O-R-Y. I'm the engineering manager for the Gary Works facility, ECT, as well as Midwest, and recently appointed, so I'm getting used to this as well. But with regards to there are steel cabinets in which we have drawings that are stored in those cabinets, and some of those drawings would not be reproducible. If you have a specific question about the design of that cabinet.
They're stackable?
They are stackable right now. They're
Four or
stacked
five high?
They're stacked 5 high.
Made out of metal?
Yes,
I presume?
they're made out of
Are they
steel.
weatherproof?
They're not
Fireproof?
they're not weatherproof or fireproof. There was a fire system in there to protect it.
What is the top? The top of the cabinet, the top one?
It's-
Metal?
It's
Just
it's metal.
metal?
I don't know exactly what gauge metal is, but it is a metal, similar like a metal desk you would have, or file cabinets. It's those type. It's a big file cabinet, if you can envision that type of construction. So not a structural member, if you will, but it's not cardboard, banker's boxes either as well. I would just like to reiterate that we understand that there's a public safety issue that needs to get resolved quickly. When you award that contract, we are just asking that we can have the ability to talk to them and whatever that we can do with how they're doing this. So maybe there's something we can do safely, public safety, and then our personal safety, and taking the contents out or prime for all of us, just so that we can coordinate and say, what can we do, what can't we do safely to try to minimize any damage that might be to those drawings. That's really all we're asking for today. We're not asking a stay or anything of that nature.
Yeah, because even if the cabinets got damaged during the demolition process, you still should be able to salvage anything in them.
Correct. I mean, our concern right now is just being exposed to the weather. The cabinet, the actual physical damage to the cabinets is really not a concern. The cabinets are replaceable. It's the drawings inside that go back to the turn of last century. Some of those drawings go back to the early 1900s where you can't even, those companies aren't in business anymore and you can't even go get them to go get them for you, and it's almost impossible to.
Yeah, we got plans like that downstairs in the engineering department.
I'm sure you do, so I'm sure your engineering department's aware of that. So again, all we're asking is just to be able to work with you, once you select and release the tender, that we'd be able to coordinate there and do what's safe for everybody.
I'm sorry, your name is Matt?
Matt?
Hi, Matt,
Yes.
I'm Chris. Are these your cabinets here on these pictures?
Yes.
Okay, so I could show the board that those are your cabinets?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, but do you know what this is right here?
No.
Okay, it's the kitchen of, this is the kitchen of the Mexican restaurant that's right next door.
Okay.
So if this building falls onto this kitchen and, a dishwasher gets killed, I mean, is US still gonna pay for it? No.
We're not saying don't demo.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, you understand
Absolutely.
the issue here. That we're facing.
Absolutely. We 100% support the quick remediation of this issue.
Okay, then you can see the bowing in this wall?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, I mean, and it's supposed to be really lousy this weekend.
It appears everybody's in agreement that the structure needs to come down, so maybe if we could declare an emergency and choose a contractor, they could get in touch with them today and see what they could work out.
That's, from U.S. Steel perspective, that's all that we wanted to accomplish today, is to have some open communications and see what can be done, and have discussions with the contractor and maybe the engineer or city engineers if need be.
I do have an order prepared, but I would like to have just our engineer reiterate the condition of the property before I can do the pictures.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just ask that Dean Button, sorry, Dean, to put you on the hot spot. All right, now, Mr. Button, you are an engineer, correct, Dean?
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am, sorry.
I get that all the time. Did you review any inspection reports by other engineers?
I did.
Did you review the one from Mr. Hutton?
I did not see
Okay, I
Mr.
just got
Hutton's
it this
report.
morning too. Did you personally go out and take a look at the building?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you observe?
I observed that the upper section, approximately 4 feet of the building was missing. Adjacent to the restaurant, the kitchen portion of the restaurant, imminent failure is happening now. Building is failing, and there's an imminent threat to personal property and perhaps life.
Okay, in your professional opinion, can the front portion of the building, the lower portion, be saved?
I don't believe so.
I would like to show the board the pictures, please. I've also prepared an order. This will address only the front lower portion of this building. The rear will deal with it some future date if necessary.
So should we do the order first, or should we get a recommendation on the selection of the demolition contractor?
Whatever your pleasure is. I think we're all in agreement that the front portion does need to come down. The recommendation.
I think the property owner's representative wants to say something.
Yes, I just quickly reviewed the order. I just want to make sure it doesn't specifically say just the one-story portion. If we could just clarify that, because I think everyone's in agreement that that needs to be taken down with the two-story portion, at least for the time being. Can we
I'm happy to run
Okay.
the order. It's something that's on the computer.
Okay. So we need to, yes?
If I may, could the order provide that, to the best of its ability, it will work with the tenant to remove the contents without damaging?
I mean, that's up to the board. Our interest is safety, not property, but it's up to you. I mean, really, that's something he needs to speak with.
Yeah, I think we're giving you an opportunity to meet with the demolition contractor and work something out, but we don't want to have to pay anything extra to protect the stuff inside there.
No, I'd love to be able to meet with the contractor in a situation in which the contractor knows that the city of Hammond wants those contents protected, if possible. I mean,
Well, we know the contractor because he's done demolition work here before. You could speak to him. Does the contractor have a representative here in the audience, or sometimes they do when they make a bid? No?
But he's aware of the situation, I explained the contents to him, and he said he'd be willing to work with the tenant as far as getting obviously, first thing is get the safety situations, the ones at risk, and then however they're gonna need to move the cabinets, forklifts, trailers, whatever needs to be, he's aware of that, and is going to talk to the tenant, and run this meeting, I mean, this morning.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So we need to declare an emergency and approve the findings in order.
As to the front building only, the lower building.
Right. Yes,
Say something. I'm the owner of Document Control Group. The biggest concern with those drawings, by far, is weather, is water, bottom line. Those front cabinets are not sealed. Pretty much both sides, the back and everything else, it can't get in. It's the front drawers where the drawers,
right. Yeah, we have the same cabinets downstairs.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
they would not survive well in a rainstorm outside.
right, that's the biggest concern, needless to say. Now, so you know, I am very prepared in order to do this. I already have tarps. These are columns of drawings, 5 high, as we said. There's 13 columns, or 11 columns per row average. There's 23 rows. So it's 21 foot over both sides cabinets because they're back to back. So I've already purchased tarps. So when the contractor does the demolition and it's safe to get in there, I want to work with the contractor to get the debris away from the cabinets because I can't go in there. Needless to say, you're going to do the demo. Actually, the dominoes effect is it's going to all hit the ground.
Well, I've seen some of these contractors work in town. They're very, very, very good at what they do. The stuff, I would think in this case, if they can pick apart the section of the roof, to where possibly, and maybe a wall or something, I'm just speculating here, to where someone might be able to get in and cover them up while they sit there, while they pick apart some other parts
That's
of the
correct.
building. I would think that's possible. Wouldn't
Okay.
you, Kelly?
And that's where my concern comes in, but that's all been purchased, it's sitting there, it's waiting just for
Okay.
the roof. You can tell how durable these cabinets are, because basically that's what's holding the roof up as we speak today.
Right.
I mean, the trusses that are literally sitting on the cabinet, so there's no way of getting in there to do that work to cover them up.
No, not today. There's
So the
correct.
tarps are there, and the shrink wrap, we're gonna do it from the bottom up, just like you would do a roof, so you can't get water in it. Then we can start taking them apart and getting them out the door.
I'm confident that whomever is chosen will work with you to see that that can happen.
Okay, and actually, the way I envision it is just taking the north wall down, backing rigs up, and basically start filling them up.
Well,
South
that's,
wall's gotta be first.
Right, exactly.
We gotta get that south wall down, north wall falls in the parking lot, it's gonna stop no harm. South wall's gotta be handled, and then making it safe for him to be able to cover it up.
Yes.
Recommending the contract.
okay.
Yes,
There's nothing to the north, there's no, the south is the restaurant.
right. But, yeah, they could dump it into the parking lot and just move it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you want to make a motion to approve the findings in order, Chris, are you going to modify the findings in order?
Yes, as soon as this board meeting's done, it'll only change the front page. Well, don't worry about it, I can get copies around for everybody, but I will modify it. It's on my computer.
So we need a recommendation to approve the findings in order with some minor modifications to be handled by
If you
this.
want to write on their front building only, I can type it up.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend that we accept the findings in the order with the caveat that we're only talking about the front building, the single-story building.
Okay, I'll concur with your recommendation. And then now we need a recommendation from staff on the demolition contractor.
As you announced, JM was the lowest bidder. I do believe that Acton was bidding on the entire building, including the back addition. His bid came in at $49,420. I think fair to cut that in half. He's still at $24,700. That would make JM the lowest bidder at $24,300. I recommend we go with JM.
So we have a recommendation to make the award to JM Contracting
JM Wrecking,
as the
Industrial Services.
most responsive and responsible bidder and also the low bidder. Do I have that recommendation?
I concur.
You have to make your recommendation.
I'll recommend that we
And then I'll
accept the
concur.
JM bid.
And then I'll concur.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, so I think we're all set on this one, right?
Can I add one thing, just given the coordination, I assume that's going to take place between U.S. Steel and the tenant and the contractor. I know that the bids are, the low bid is 24,000, whatever. Can the order reflect that if the demolition contractor has to incur additional costs because of the coordination and allowing the tenant and U.S. Steel to get the property out of there, that those costs will be assessed against the tenant and U.S. Steel? Because I don't know, I mean.
I think that's already understood, that all we're paying, we're paying that amount. Any additional costs, they're gonna have to negotiate with the contractor.
Okay, thank you, I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, that completes item E. Now we'll move on to item F. Status of demolition properties located at 3103 163rd. Are we taking these all individually?
Yeah, I can just go in order, Mr.
Okay.
President, if you don't mind. On the first one, 3103 163rd, this is owned by UNI. Dennis Radowski has got a contractor, and he's got a bid. Problem is, his bid is $180,000. He's not sure the property's even worth that, so he wants to try to get the contractor to knock a few of the bells and whistles off the bill so that it's actually a marketable property. I would just ask that we continue this till March the 3rd, which is our next demolition status date.
We're talking about 3103?
3103.
And you want to move it to
March 3rd, please. March 3rd is our next demolition status date.
I'd recommend that we move 3103 163rd to March 3rd.
I'll concur.
The next one is 5714 Calumet, which is just actually right down the street that way. Chris Rhodes has an agreement to rehabilitate. There is progress, and I would ask also for that March 3rd status date. Is Chris here? No, Chris is. Oh, here. You making progress? Yes. Okay. Is March 3rd okay? Okay, we're going to continue this to March 3rd. I thought he was here. He usually comes.
I recommend we continue 5714 Calumet to March 3rd.
And I'll concur.
The next one is 531 Cherry Street. I'm hoping somebody's here on this. Oh, Poseidon? Are you with Poseidon? Okay. Could you please tell the board what your plans are for the property?
Plan to rent it. And I have proof of, I take some pictures of the progress.
Okay.
What we're doing. We change all the siding.
Ooh, that looks nice. Thank you.
We change all the windows, all new windows. We put furnace in. And I have the permit for the work inside also. So we're gonna start work inside. We did the roof too.
We're going to check on the permits, but it looks really nice if the board wants to.
Yeah,
see
I have the permits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I would just ask the board that we set this over to March the 3rd. Can I make sure I have your address though, sir? Where do you live? You want to write it down?
Yeah.
What's your address?
Oh, the cherry or this
No,
one?
no, where you live, where I could send you a letter saying come back on March 3rd. Is your last name Robles or no?
No,
Oh, okay, because that's where the picture's delivered.
just my wife. With Becerra.
Was there? Okay. Uriel?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I would just ask that we set this over to March the 3rd, 2016. I'll send you a letter to come back. If you have it done by then, call for final inspection, and then you don't have to come back.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, I recommend 531 Cherry Street be set over for status to March 3rd, Chris.
Okay.
And I'll concur.
Okay, the next one is 27 Elizabeth. Yeah, I thought I saw you here. As you recall, the owner of 27 Elizabeth is the same individual who has the property over on,
430 Highland Street.
yeah, Highland Street. All right, can you tell the board your progress on it?
Well,
I know you recited it and did windows.
oh yeah, the whole inside is framed. The electrician has started. HVAC starts on Monday. Just about over. I mean, it's about like 75 to 80% done.
Yeah, you should see the one on Highland Street. They had it stripped down just to studs. It was,
Oh, yeah.
it was
Yeah.
impressive.
And, you know, they was busy over there, so we didn't want them kind of going back and forth on 27 Elizabeth
Yeah.
Street. So, I don't know how far we have to be done. Like, can we switch like part of the bond over to 27 Elizabeth Street, like a portion, or?
He posted a bond on the Highland Street property. Actually, she posted the bond on the Highland Street property. He wants to know if it could be transferred to the 27 Elizabeth property.
No, it looks immaculate in there. I mean, yeah, I mean, it looks beautiful on Highland Street. I mean, it's the, yeah.
Yeah, I go that way a lot.
Yeah.
And every time I.
And we got, but we
You
could,
want to know how far along it's done on Highland
yeah,
Avenue?
because we got HVAC, starting Monday, Conference Solutions out of Maryville.
Just trimming and some rough work,
Yeah,
that would be fine.
yeah,
Only running the HVAC in place to reset.
okay. Oh, okay, so, what you mean, like drywall and everything has to be up before you can switch that? Okay.
Won't get too far ahead, you know.
Right, I mean, it's, as far as we're concerned, it's about over with.
We could, if the board, I drive past, the other one's 430, right?
Yes,
The other properties, they're right on the agenda together, 27 Elizabeth and 430 Highland. I go that way all the time on Highland, and every time I go by, there's none working, and it looks nice. What Kelly Kearney is asking is that the board allow that the bond he posted for 430 Highland to stand for 27 Elizabeth. Basically, kind of like split it.
we have material and everything already ready for, 27 Elizabeth Street.
He's moving along, okay, everything?
Confident that Highland and Street will be done, and we won't have to cash a bond on that, unless you stop me at this point, much investor. So having that bond transfer to Elizabeth would help that project even way, moving along further.
It really would.
Okay, so the staff recommendation is to allow that bond to cover the older properties, right?
We're allowed to stand for both.
Thank you.
So what kind of motion do we need on this?
Well, I would just ask that the board make a motion that the bond posted for the rehabilitation of 430 Highland also be allowed to stand for the rehabilitation on 27 Elizabeth.
Recommendation? And I'll concur.
Properties are hurting, so that's all I have down. All right, and then I would ask that both properties just be set open for status for March the 3rd. It looks like progress is being made. We can probably yank them off on that day, at least one of them.
Okay, I'll recommend that 27 Elizabeth and 430 Highland be set over for status March 3rd.
And I'll concur.
Both properties.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just keep on working. I'll send something down to the building department, let them know if the board decides. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, this is where we finish here. I gotta go. All right, the next one is 450410 Holman. If you recall, Attorney Munich is on this property. It looks like the railroad wants to take the property. They haven't been able to work out an agreement yet. I know this because the state has now sent him a uniform property acquisition offer, so they might have to take it. However, it is still in the process of being either taken or sold to the railroad for purposes of probably knocking it down. So I would just ask that the board set it over till March 3rd, and hopefully they've got their deal done by then.
I'll recommend 4504 to 4510 Holman be set over for status March 3rd.
And I'll concur.
All right, the next one is 6239 Monroe. Is Mr. Hernandez here? Okay. All right, Mr. Hernandez, would you please let the board know your progress? I do know that you self-demolished the garage, and it looks like progress was being made last time we were here. Has there anything new to report? Okay, that's what it used to look like. Where did she put the pictures? Sorry. We do have a person who handles the files who has a bit of an OCD issue. And all right. ¿Es lo mismo o es mejor? Okay. All right, he says the property condition is better than the pictures we had. The pictures we had, it was being recited. Is it azul?
Yes.
Oh.
So the same color.
Oh, okay.
No, this is different. This no.
What's this look like
Yeah,
then?
this no.
Okay. All right, I would just ask that we give Mr. Hernandez until March the 3rd, and if you get it done, call for a final inspection, then we can pull you off the list.
Yeah. Right now I'm waiting just to renew the agreement in order to continue working.
Oh, the agreement's expired?
Yes, fine.
Okay, hang on. I gotta make a note of that. All right, what Mr. Hernandez needs, he needs me to extend the agreement to mail it to him. Is this a good, which address do you want me to make?
This is, yeah.
Just mail it there?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I just wanna make sure, because it said it was vacant, so that was last year. vacant. So do you have another address?
Yeah, in Chicago.
Write it down. Just write your address. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna update the agreement to rehabilitate and then mail it to them. Done. Do it again. Okay, thank you. Is that south or is that a 5?
6,
Oh,
6, and this is here. And this is number
right.
3.
And is that a 5 or is that south?
7.
South, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank
All right, I'll put it in today's mail.
you. March.
March 3rd, you'll get a letter.
Set it over for status?
Yes, please, he is making substantial progress, and I would just ask that we set this over to March the 3rd, and perhaps if he's done, we can take it off the list at that time.
I recommend 6239 Monroe be set over for status to March 3rd.
And I'll concur.
All right, now the next one is 1116 Moss. Is anybody here for 1116 Moss? I had a rehabilitation agreement mailed in August, and it expired December 1st. It has already been ordered demolished. We issued a permit, but as of November 6th of last year, there was no work being done. Do we have anything going on?
We'll make arrangements to buy the base if there's any progress and if there's some permits.
No, I have no permits being pulled. If there is no progress, we've already issued the order, and we can just go ahead and demolish it. But let's set it for a status on March 3rd, just so it doesn't fall into the cracks. But check.
1116 Moss will be set over for status on March 3rd.
I'll concur.
Yeah, I thought somebody was going to be here. All right, 6333 New Jersey. Attorney Mears was here. There is progress being made. The guy is nearly complete, according to the attorney. Says he's 70% complete. I would ask for that March 3rd status date.
I recommend 6333 New Jersey be set over for status to March 3rd.
I'll concur.
The next one is 4446 Sheffield. This is that old, it was like a cigarette stand back in the day, up there in the 1st District. The problem is the trucks keep parking there. It's not the building so much itself. There is also a question of whether or not that building is going to be taken. It's going to be another property which may be taken and demolished by a higher authority. I did tell them that in a condition of being continued to March 3rd, they must put up barriers and no truck parking signs so that we won't have the problem with trucks parking there. So if there are any further problems with trucks parking there, please have somebody let me know so we can tell them he violated the condition. And I would ask that we set this over till March 3rd to see the status of the taking.
I recommend 4446 Sheffield be set over for status to March 3rd.
I'll concur.
All right, now the next one was 4723 Sheffield. Is Mr. Franks here? Yes, he's here. He usually comes. He's good. Now, I know that you had a fire and you were working on it, and is the property for sale? Any progress on?
I put it for sale, but I haven't had any people that are realistic in offers that they presented. So what happened was I met with Mr. Cook Friday, and spoke with him because I had some questions about the rehab agreement. We had a good discussion in reference to that. I signed the agreement on Friday, brought it up to the legal office on the 3rd floor, and then at that point,
I think it's on the agenda. I think it's on the agenda a little further down. 4723? Yeah, actually, look, see, you're on the agenda, you're number L.
Okay.
It came in later than the other stuff.
do I need to
No.
stay here
Nope.
for that then?
Not unless you want to, if you want a copy, you can stay, but they're just going to approve it, and then we'll get you a copy.
And then, so what happened is I contacted some contractors yesterday to get some bids. They should be coming out sometime next week, according to their schedules, when they can meet with me. And then I also might take the test on February 1st to be a contractor here, because I'm very familiar with a lot of construction. So I have a couple options to try to give myself, whether to sell it, or have a contractor rebuild it, or if I take the test and do it myself. So I'm progressing that way.
All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Franks. I appreciate your progress.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll set this over to March the 3rd, and hopefully we can get it done by then, and we can pull it off the list.
I'm trying, yeah. I'm
Okay.
doing the best I can.
Well, yeah, you can do a lot of inside work now, not much outside work.
Yeah, there's really not, there's, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
On the next one, 70.
I recommend 4723 Sheffield be held over for status to March 3rd.
All
And
right.
I'll concur.
I saw Bob's building approaching in my periphery, so. The next one is 7609 Walnut, which Mr. Golding is here.
And Attorney Kevin Smith has advised that I think there's an inspection set for, I think, January 28th on this property. So we just asked that this be set over for a March 3rd status date, because the intention is when the inspection is done to enter into a rehab agreement. We already have a contractor, Ray Rudolph's company here is going to do the work, and we're just waiting for the city to get some time to go out and do the inspection.
I would concur in that recommendation. We move it to March the 3rd so I could get the rehab agreement drafted.
I recommend 7609 Walnut be set for status to March 3rd.
I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On 7446 White Oak, Attorney Sam Zabanea was here. If you recall, this is the property that's been just nothing but problems for us. However, with a little bit of persuasion from the building department and several citations, they have now finally decided they are really going to remodel it and refix it. And it is being worked on. The concrete pad was poured very recently for the garage, which replaced the one that was made out of cinder blocks. And I would just ask that this be set for 3/3/16 again. Hopefully that'll be final continuance.
7446 White Oak set over for status to March 3rd.
I'll concur.
Now, the next one is 1125 Wilcox. I'm not sure if anybody here from Region Renovations? No? Region Renovations picked up the property, and I issued them a rehabilitation agreement, which has been signed. This all happened rather recently before we could pull this off the agenda, so I would like this to please be set over for 3/3/16.
Which date? I'm sorry.
March 3rd,
March 3rd.
2016, please.
1125 Wilcox, I recommend be sent over for status to March 3rd.
I'll concur.
And then the last demolition property is 6813 Woodmar. I had contact from the attorney who represents the owner. She is also working on the progress. She's working on the project. There is progress, and I would ask for the March 3rd date so she can complete it.
I recommend 6813 Woodmire be set over for status as well to March 3rd.
All right, and that's the last I have for the demolition, unless there's
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
anybody else who came in late.
Now we'll move down to item G, status hearing on demolition property located at 4914 Calumet.
At the last hearing, Mr. Cook asked to postpone it because he wanted to review the file. He hasn't had a chance to review the file yet, so we'd like to continue this until February 18th.
You're the attorney representing? Is that okay with you?
You want to set it over to when, Rich?
February 18th.
I recommend that 4914 Calumet Avenue's status hearing be set over till February the 18th.
And I'll concur.
Thank you.
Rental registration hearing regarding property located at 29 Doty. That's this one. You're the property owner for 29 Doty?
The problem is that this is not 29 Dory, it's for 25 Dory.
Did you get her name? Could you state your name for the record?
My name is Chentro Oluka.
Do you own the property next door?
Yes.
All right, ma'am, do you have a tenant at 2365 Doty? Is there a tenant there?
Yes, there is one there now.
How long has it been a rental?
For this particular tenant, I think she has been there for, let's say, about 4 months, if I'm not mistaken.
How long has the property been a rental?
I've been renting it off and on, off and on.
Have you ever had it registered?
No, I haven't.
That's the issue, Mr. President. We're here on a property that has been a rental for at least, we believe, 2010, 2015, and has never been registered.
Is it single family or multifamily?
It's a single family,
Single family?
yeah.
Your Honor, I originally questioned, I called the number we had on file, and the gentleman that maintains the property lives at 29 Doty, and he was managing 25 Doty, and they told me they couldn't register the apartment because they didn't have insurance on the property due to the fact they had a large dead tree in the backyard and they couldn't take it down when the insurance company wanted to issue a policy. And I informed the gentleman at the time that you're not allowed to rent it, you can't register it, you can't register it without insurance. So that's why they've never registered it before, they couldn't get insurance. She claims now that we recently got insurance on the property. But it's still,
Is the tree cut down?
no,
Not yet.
still there.
Is the tree hazardous?
It's been trimmed, it's basically just the main trunk that's still there.
What do you want to do? So technically, the property's never been registered for 6 years?
No, not,
2010 through 2015.
And you've been the owner for how long, ma'am? The entire time?
yes, I would say the entire time. But off and on,
Nine
we
doors.
don't rent it, you know.
Water's been renewed since August 6, 2010.
So you own the property next door, is that property registered?
Yes,
So the only reason this property wasn't registered was because it didn't have insurance and you couldn't fill out the form?
no, did you ask me is the other one registered? I live in that one. I live in the one next to it, so I don't have to register it.
And may I ask who lives in 40 Williams?
It's me. Oh, the 40 Williams, nobody lives there.
So 40 Williams is vacant, because you have on this, we have on this, as this information, is you're living at 40 Williams Street.
No, I live on 29 Dory Street. Then 40 Williams, nobody lives there, it's not rented.
But it is your house.
It's my house. The one that is rented is 25 Dory Street. That's the one in question.
And notes indicate here, owner's currently in collections with 23, 25, from 29, 27.
That's where I live,
That's where you live,
yes.
not at 40 Williams. So you just go in your collection. Smith Sursick, maybe talk to Smith Sursick?
About,
So the board just needs to decide what are we going to do for 2010 through 2015. If she needs to register for those years. Now that she has insurance, she can register.
5 years without insurance, I'm fine with the building. I mean, you guys are gonna get a tree cut down. It's part of the
and I said,
responsibility of having a property and controlling it. You can't just continue to occupy a house that you can't insure because you don't want to pay money to get a tree cut down.
excuse me, can I say something? I tried to cut the tree, the point is that when I paid the person to cut it, they cut half and they ran away with my money. I tried this several times, I couldn't get anybody to cut it. But meanwhile, I was charged for $1,600 for all those years that were behind, and I'm paying for it now. I've already paid the city part of that fund, you know. The one that I was charged for those years that, for those years that I did not have the permit, you know. Yeah, I paid for it.
Do you have a receipt showing you paid?
I paid it through the city attorney, yes, I paid him 500, and then I have a payment plan to pay it off.
Kelly, has this property been rented this entire time? Do we know?
Mine appears that way, from,
Okay, so someone has been in the property. You've been collecting rent on the property
Yeah, that's what I
through
said.
this entire period of time.
That's what I said before. I said I rent it off and on, and the people, they move in, they move out. They move in, they move out. But I tried many times to come and get rental property, but the problem is getting insurance. I tried all those times, but now I was charged for those years that are, you know, for not registering, and I've already paid my fine for 500 through the attorney's office and Dyer. And
So
I have
Kelly, how much would it be for her to get all the registrations up to date? Because the fee changed, so I'm not sure what the,
It started in 10. It was 80 as of 10, and it was only 5 as in 15. So 10 through 14 was 80. However, if she's already made a payment plan, I don't want to charge her twice for something she's already paid for. So I need to verify this with the collection attorney. us if she's already paying somebody else. If she only needs for 15 or she only needs for 16, well, then we can do that. It would be unjust to charge her twice.
We will check with Smith Sursick for any payments. If she can provide something that shows that she is paid. Usually when Smith Sursick gets a payment, we will put it in our notes, so we know that it's actively being paid or wherever.
What do you think, you might need a week, 2 weeks?
A week's fine for us, we make a phone call today.
So we need to defer action, what, maybe 2 weeks?
You have to understand, if you've already paid somebody, we don't want to have the board say you have to pay again. And you don't have any receipts, so we check with the collection company. Can you come back in 2 weeks or in 1
I
week?
can come back today and show you my receipt. They gave, in fact, it's laying on my table because I made a money order from the bank, took it over there, and it's made to the city of Hammond, $500. Yeah, and then I have the payment plan that they gave me.
We don't have that information from you, that's the most recent thing we have seen. She's
Okay.
made the arrangements and Smith Sursick hasn't gotten
Yes.
back to us yet, or?
All right, I'll make a reservation. We set this over for 2 weeks till January the 28th, so we can kind of figure out the status of the property.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
And we are talking about 29 Doty?
25.
25 Doty.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we move on to item I, correspondence received requesting rental registration hearing. There's only one? When do you want to schedule that for? February 11th? Yeah, you want to make that recommendation, February 11th?
For rental registration hearings?
Yeah, they're going to come here at the rental registration.
Oh, they need to hear here?
Yeah, like she did.
Okay.
What's the property?
I recommend that we, 7120 Jackson.
February 11th.
So we set a hearing date for February the 11th.
And I'll concur. Next item is the amusement device list submitted for approval. There's several establishments. Just recommend approval.
I recommend the approval of the amusement devices listed.
And I'll concur. Next, we have an acknowledgement of the disposal authorization. What's this, for the police department?
Yeah, those are just all the vehicles that have been
Yeah.
disposed of in case anybody ever comes looking for it. There's now a record where they went.
I recommend the acknowledgement for the disposal authorizations from the police department.
And I'll concur. Next, we have an agreement to rehabilitate property located at 4723 Sheffield. That's the one we talked about earlier.
Right, that was Mr. Franks' property. I would ask you to please just approve it, and then we can let him start making the repairs. The property isn't that bad, but it does need to be repaired.
Okay.
I recommend that we approve the agreement to rehabilitate the property 4723 Sheffield.
And I'll concur. Do we have any matters from other board members? Matters from other department heads or their representatives? New business, old business. Old business, we have correspondence from the Indiana Department of Transportation. We sent some requests to them. They said they did the warrant study on 171st and Calumet, and it does not warrant the left turn arrow at the present time. We might want to consider resubmitting this to them when school is in session and Dairy Bell's open, and get a additional count. Also on on Indianapolis Boulevard and 175th, we've had numerous vehicles drive up on the median. They're going to put some delineators in as soon as the weather's sufficiently warm enough, and they're going to repaint the median. So we'd like to thank them for those actions. We don't need to do anything. The meeting's open to the public. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
And I'll concur.